Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari. Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana. Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana. Yamunatira Vanachari. Yamunatira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari. Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana. Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana. Yamunatira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Kishore Kishore Jaya Kishore Kishore Jaya Kishore Kishore Jaya Kishore Kishore. Jaya Jai Jagana Jaya Jai Jagana Jaya Jai Baladev Jai Jai Subhadra. Nitai Gaura Haribo, 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 Nitai Gaura Haribo. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Vishnu Padaya Paramhamsa Parabhikacharya Satarasa, His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jaya Vishnu Padaya Paramhamsa Parabhikacharya Satarasa, His Divine Grace, Bhaktivedanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada Ki. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki. Srimad Bhagavatam Grantaraj Ki. All glories to the assembly of devotees. All glories to the assembly of devotees. All glories to the assembly of devotees. All glories to Sri Guru and Gauranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Today's reading from Canto 10, Chapter 22, entitled Krishna Steals the Gopis' Garments. Text 1. Sri Sukha Uvacha Hemante Prathame Masi Nanda Vraja Kumarikaha Cherur Havisham Bhunjanaha Katyayani Archana Vratam. Sri Sukha Uvacha Hemante Prathame Masi Nanda Vraja Kumarikaha Cherur Havisham Bhunjanaha Katyayani Archana Vratam. Sri Sukha Uvacha Hemante prathame masi Nandavraja kumarikaha Cherurhavisham bhunjanaha Katyayani archana vratam Sri Sukha uvacha Hemante prathame masi Kumarikaha Cherurhavisham bhunjanaha Katyayani archana vratam Sukha Mante prathame masi Andavraja kumarikaha Cherurha Vishambhunjanaha Atyayani Archana Vratam. Thank you for chanting. We go to word by word translation. Sri Sukha Uvacha. Sri Sukadev Goswami said, Hemanta, during the winter, Pratame, in the first, Masi, month, Nandavraja, of the cowherd village of Nanda Maharaj, Kumarikaha, the unmarried young girls, Cheruhu, performed, Havisham, an unseasoned khichdi, Bunjanaha, subsisting on, Katyayani, of the goddess Katyayani, Archanam Vratam, the vow of worship. Translation. Sukadeva Goswami said, during the first month of the winter season, the young unmarried girls of Gokula observed the vow of worshipping goddess Katyayani. For the entire month, they ate only unspiced khichdi. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. The word Hemanta refers to the month of Margashirsha, from approximately the middle of November to the middle of December, according to the Western calendar. In Volume 1, Chapter 22 of Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Srila Prabhupada comments that the gopis first ate havishana, a kind of food prepared by boiling together moong dal and rice without any spices or turmeric. According to Vedic injunction, this kind of food is recommended to purify the body before one enacts a ritualistic ceremony. Thank you everyone for coming to this class. We are beginning a very special chapter in Canto 10. Krishna steals the gopis' garments. So I'd like to start with the statement that externally we are in America, and some of us may celebrate the Thanksgiving holiday, which was yesterday, and even devotees, practicing devotees, can relate to some aspects of of thanksgiving by giving thanks to God and giving thanks to the devotees, by whose mercy we can be engaged in Krishna consciousness. Um, I was sitting yesterday and trying to organize a little bit the class for today, and I was thinking that I'm supposed to give class today, and this highly esoteric subject matter of Krishna interacting with his most intimate devotees seems so far away from my shallow understanding. And I'm laughing at myself. I'll have to give class today about these highly esoteric subject matters. So my only realization is that I have very, very limited understanding of the nature of these pastimes. So how am I supposed to give class today? How did it happen that I'm supposed to give class today? How did that happen? I can only think that it's the mercy of the devotees, mercy of my Guru Maharaj, and maybe a test from Krishna's special arrangement. So I'll try my best, and I feel very much unfit to speak about these subject matters. However, I can maybe talk a little bit about nice things that we can imbibe from or learn from the example of the gopis at our stage of sadhana bhakti. So it is described that the gopis were executing the vow of worshipping goddess Katyayani, which is Mother Durga, for the purpose of obtaining Krishna as their husband. This was their desire. So in order to please goddess Durga, the gopis ate a very bland food consisting of moong dal and rice, and then worshipped the goddess. So after 1 month of doing so, they hoped that Durga would give them, pleased with them and give them the blessing of having Krishna as their husband, benediction. Srila Prabhupada explains in the purport, such food is very much purifying. Unspiced khichdi is very much purifying before one enacts any type of ritualistic ceremony that's found in the Vedic scriptures. So in this class, I would like to point out and discuss some of the things that we can learn from the pure devotees, such as the gopis. And the 3 things I would like to focus on today is that the gopis use the Vedic ritual to worship the material energy personified only to obtain the direct service of Lord Krishna, not otherwise. So this would be the first point. The second point is that sure, the gopis worship the material energy, Mother Katyayani, but it is very humble to approach Krishna like that. They already have the high love of God, the highest prema, so it's very humble. They're very humble to go through Mother Katyayani. And the third point is austerity executed for Krishna. The gopis executed the austerity ultimately with the mind of obtaining Krishna. So these 3 things I would like to focus on today. We elaborate a little bit on them. And please excuse my limited understanding of the subject matters, and feel free to give clarifications and ask questions at the end of class. So the first point is that the gopis use the Vedic ritual and in direct worship to worship Mother Katyayani to obtain direct service of Lord Krishna. It is mentioned in Bhagavad Gita that even, and in Srimad Bhagavatam as well, even if you do not desire Krishna, it is good to go through Krishna to obtain any type of material desire. I think it's mentioned in the Srimad Bhagavatam. I could not find that verse yesterday, that whether one is full of material desires or devoid of material desires, it is very good to go through Krishna and worship Krishna. Because in the process of worshipping Krishna for whatever desire we have to fulfill, and we become purified and ultimately attain our spiritual goal, which is going back to Godhead and um, staying close to Krishna and engaging in His service. So, for example, in Bhagavad Gita, there's a nice verse, verse 46, chapter 2. I'll just read the Sanskrit. Yavan artha udapane sarvatak samplutodake tavan sarveshu vedeshu brahmanasya vijnanataha. It says that all purposes served by a small well can at once be served by a great reservoir of water. Similarly, all the purposes of the Vedas can be served to one who knows the purpose behind them. And Srila Prabhupada mentions in the purport that the rituals and sacrifices mentioned in the Karmakanda division of the Vedic literature are meant to encourage gradual development of self-realization. And the purpose of self-realization is clearly stated in the 15th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, 15:15, verse 15. The purpose of studying the Vedas is to know Lord Krishna, the primeval cause of everything. So self-realization means understanding Krishna and one's eternal relationship with Him. And certainly the gopis were already had the relationship with Krishna, already had the love developed to the highest possible level, and they were just praying to be engaged in that relationship. And externally, they were endeavoring for having Krishna as their husband. So the gopis already fully understood their relationship with Krishna, but as a matter of duty and etiquette and to fulfill the pastimes of the Lord on earth, they worship Mother Katyayani. On the other hand, those who worship demigods or Mother Katyayani without the goal of obtaining Krishna are not described very favorably in Bhagavad Gita. For example, in chapter 9, verse 23, it is mentioned that Yapyanya devata bhakta yajante shathayan vitaha tepi mamu eva kaunteya yajanti avidhi purvakam. It says, though, that those who are devotees of other gods and who worship them with faith actually worship only me, son of Kunti, but they do so in a wrong way. So it is not recommended we worship material energy or any demigods that are simply assistants of Lord Vishnu and Lord Krishna, just with the material goal in mind. I think our great devotee Nityananda Prabhu mentioned last Sunday in the lecture that in relation to Hanuman, great devotee of the Lord, and how many people worship Hanuman to achieve different things, and sometimes they have this misunderstanding they're working on some material projects without relation to Krishna or God, and they ask Hanuman to help them achieve those goals. But the proper understanding, the highest understanding that our bhakti yogis and Vaishnavas have is that you can worship Hanuman, you can worship Mother Durga and other demigods only if somehow it is related to Krishna and we want to advance in spiritual life and achieve Krishna at the end. And once again, why not just ask Krishna and pray to Krishna and worship Krishna? Why go to the demigods? But if we have this tendency in the heart, try to keep Lord Krishna in the heart as our foremost goal. For example, I'll give you this example. When I was little, I wanted to, let's say you're little and you want some toys. You want some toys from your, somehow you saw it on TV or your friends have some toys and you want to obtain some toys. It is even children know that if you want to get a toy, you have to go to mom and dad and they will supply it to you. Even a child knows that we should not knock on the neighbor's door, although they may be friendly, and ask for toys, or go outside and ask a policeman. They're good people. They're helping the society, and they may be friendly, but they're not the best person to go to ask for a toy. And also, even if you go to a toy store, and you knock on the door and you ask the owner to get you a toy, you still have to know what to say. If you're a little child, you don't know what to say. So you have to know what to say and how to properly address them, and you have to have some money. And still, those outsiders who may be friendly otherwise, they may not exactly know what's best for you. So the best thing to do for a little child is to go and ask mom and daddy. Mom and daddy, I really want this toy. Could you give it to me? Could you buy it for me? Could I somehow have it? So we have these material desires. Why not go through Krishna? And it's best not to have the material desires, but it so happens that most of us who are in the material world have struggling with different material desires, and we struggling to putting consciously Krishna first, so we get purified and obtain his service. So Krishna, the policeman and the shop owner and our neighbor might want something back from us, but the parents do not expect anything. They don't want any sacrifice or money from us. They just want our love and affection, and then they will supply what we need. So this is the special thing about going directly to Krishna for whatever wants we have. And ideally, we should only ask for his service and service to his devotees. And it so happens that that many people who are somewhat familiar with Vedic culture, they may not go to Krishna directly. They may be afraid, they don't know enough about Krishna. They think that maybe Krishna is just another demigod. And they may not have enough faith in Krishna. So they go through demigods, and they may or may not, the desire is fulfilled, but the point is that it is very hard for them, and it's a long way before they attain a direct service of Krishna. And first of all, in the first place, they may not need it. They may not want it. They need it, but they may not want it. So it's unfortunate that many people who may be externally familiar with Vedic culture do not appreciate God for what he is, and do not understand that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And they go through demigods to fulfill the different desires. So our ISKCON movement is an educational movement, spiritual education. Srila Prabhupada mentioned that our ISKCON movement is a Brahminical movement. It educates about proper behavior of Vaishnava and how to worship Lord Krishna. So Srila Prabhupada said this is the mission of the movement, educating people in general to be first-class gentlemen. And who are those first-class gentlemen? They know the proper position of Lord Krishna, and they engage in the worship of the Supreme Lord. Then you're first-class gentleman, human being. So another thing that we can learn from the example of the gopis who worship material energy just with the goal of directly obtaining Krishna is that whatever duties we have in the material world, whatever we're doing, we must keep in mind who are we actually doing those duties for. Try to think about ourselves in these terms. So originally we were engaged in Krishna, and Krishna before we joined Krishna consciousness. Like I speaking for myself, we were engaged in some external activities. I'll give you myself as an example. Before joining Krishna consciousness, I was actively engaged in sports and martial arts, and just because I wanted to have good health, have some respect for my friends, and just be strong. So it's a material desire, but it may be somewhat elevated. Many people don't care about their bodies and they eat whatever they like and just want to enjoy uh, instantly, food and everything. So, having a strong body and having strength and health is a somewhat elevated material desire. So I was very much engaged, even excessively, into different types of exercise, and it's kind of common, common desire. Many people, especially when they're younger, they start to exercise, do something, and then later they give it up because they're too busy. And I haven't. I still exercise, just a little bit less. But then when I learned about Krishna consciousness, I tried to make necessary changes to make this activity more pleasing to the Lord. So obviously I stopped, adjusted my diet and stopped eating meat and fish and eggs, which made my mind and my body uh, clear of clear of toxins. These are very toxic substances. They may build your body a little bit, but then they become very toxic and then pollute the mind. So I clean up my diet and try to not to engage myself in a lot of competitive events, and try to help others achieve some level of health, so they are more fit to actually practice spiritual life. And so there was the material desire that was a little bit elevated to fit Krishna consciousness. And also I remember that even in Christian tradition, since my background is in, I was raised Roman Catholic, is that your body is a temple of the Lord. So the Holy Spirit, the God, dwells in us, and so we have a similar principle in Krishna consciousness, that the super soul is there, and the expansion of Krishna, and we are the spirit soul in this material body. So we need to keep that temple of the Lord clean, so everything is more suitable for the service of the Lord and His devotees. So whenever I exercise or perform any type of martial arts, I have an affirmation that you can maybe use to suit your own activities that may not be directly Krishna conscious. And the affirmation is that I offer this exercise training of my body and mind to you, O Lord, and through this activity I wish to know myself more and therefore be more useful to you, O Lord, in the service of devotees and mankind. So you can maybe change it up to suit your own mood, and use this affirmation whenever you do some kind of duty that may not be directly related to Krishna consciousness, but because of your situation in this material world, you still have to perform that duty because of your family or friends and maintaining yourself. So this is good to keep in mind who you're doing this for, why you're doing those duties actually, and look at the example of the of gopis, who only their foremost goal was to obtain Krishna as their husband. That's why they were worshipping Mother Katyayani. So this covers the first point. This went a little bit longer. And I want to add that eventually, whatever duties you are performing, and they may not be directly related to Krishna consciousness, they may eventually be given up after our situation changes, or after we are mature spiritually enough to give them up, but not prematurely, which is not recommended. Moving on to point 2, the gopis are very humble. The most humble of devotees to go through the demigods. They actually, because they already have the highest level of love of God, prema, they don't need the demigods for anything. And yet, out of respect They worship Mother Katyani not out of misconception or lack of knowledge. They already have the highest level of prema. So as a matter of duty and humility, they go to Mother Katyayani. I will give you two examples that I thought would fit. They may not. I try though. Imagine you are a king's son, and in your position, your father is the king of the world. So in your position, you have everything you ever want from this world. But somehow, if you need something, you don't ask your father directly because you don't want to bother him. He has many duties. He's looking over the world and ruling. So you go through the king's servants and you ask them for something, just out of respect and your own humility, and you don't want to uh, make your father tired, the king who is so busy. So out of respect, you go to the servants of your father and ask to solve your problem or help you with something. Another example that I found yesterday was that if you're at work, you have some problem to overcome. So obviously there are employees in different levels of management, right? And then at the top is the executive or the president of the company or the executive, president or executive manager. But you're one of the employees. So even though you may know the president, you may know the executive manager of the company, if you have a problem you cannot solve, you could technically go and ask the highest, the president of the company, but out of respect and your own humility, you don't. You just ask your supervisor, how do I solve this problem? Can you help me out? So on behalf of the company, on behalf of the president of the company, the main manager, the supervisor might be able to help you solve your immediate problem. So these are some of the examples that may be useful in understanding the behavior of the gopis, which is very hard to understand. It's beyond my level of realization. So they showed proper respect and good sense and modesty in approaching Mother Katyayani to obtain Krishna as their husband. Point 3, the gopis performed austerity ultimately with Krishna in their minds. Externally, immediately, there was austerity for Mother Katyayani, but they hoped to get their husband, Krishna as their husband. So it's explained in the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 17, verse 18, about 3 types of penance or 3 types of austerity. I'll just read the English. This threefold austerity performed with transcendental faith by men not expecting material benefits, but engaged only for the sake of the Supreme. It's called austerity in goodness. And in contrast, the next verse describes austerity that's more in the mode of passion. Penance performed out of pride and for the sake of gaining respect, honor, and worship is said to be in the mode of passion. It's neither stable nor permanent. So there are 3 types of austerity, and transcendental faith is the key here. If you have faith in Krishna, you do everything for Krishna. Whether you have material desires or you don't have, you're devoid of material desires. If you worship Krishna, and in the process of trying to approach Krishna, you undergo severe austerities or less severe. This is bona fide. This is considered in the mode of goodness or even in the transcendental mode, austerity. It is said also because the gopis were not eating. They were eating mung dal and rice that's unspiced for the entire month before they worship Mother Katyayani daily and the bank of Yamuna River, or in the Yamuna River actually. It is said that the most difficult type of sense control is to control the tongue. So it's hard to control the type of food you're eating and the amount of food you're eating. If you control your tongue, you are considered to have a good level of sense control. And in the Nectar of Instruction, it is said that the best way to control the tongue is to engage in the chanting of the holy names of Krishna and eating Krishna prasadam. And this way you'll be able to control the belly, the mind, the genitals, everything that's aligned vertically. All these senses will be controlled once you control the tongue. If you don't control the tongue, it's hard to control everything else. You start with the tongue by chanting, hearing chanting, and eating whole sanctified food, Krishna prasadam. So that is described in the Nectar of Instruction. So the gopis only ate the unseasoned khichdi. Can you imagine eating only rice and beans, or only rice and mung beans without salt, pepper for the whole month? It's very hard. I mean, I can't. I'd rather not eat for the whole day, but then the next day I can feast. You know, that's my limited level of austerity that I can undergo. But from the material standpoint, it is very impressive to not be able to eat anything, just the unspiced khichdi for the whole month. It is a Vedic injunction and shows how the gopis were doing everything for the pleasure of Krishna. And sometimes we perform austerities ourselves, and sometimes they're tinged by selfish motives. And I'll give myself as an example. I perform, it's called intermittent fasting. I try not to eat for 18 hours, 24 hours sometimes, and sometimes it coincides with our Vaishnava holidays, and sometimes it doesn't. So obviously my motivation is also materially tinged because I want to improve the health of the body and remove toxins from the body, and be stronger, therefore be stronger and function at optimal level. So that's the more material desire, but then also, as I mentioned before, your body is the temple of the Lord, so you make it suitable by doing different types of austerities to purify the body so we can worship the Lord in the proper state of mind. So I do this fast, 24-hour fast once a week, or daily 16 to 18 hours. But then again, I hope to have a good feast afterwards, very rich food. Maybe breakfast with a little fruit, but then 30 minutes later, I eat like rich, so make up for the lost calories and the hunger, satisfy the hunger. So, so these are this is an example of austerity that is materially tinged, but still I try to do it for Krishna and spend more time chanting, because you don't have to worry about having 3 meals per day. Then you have more time for chanting, right? So I try to keep that in mind and do my extra rounds if possible, or do some reading. So we should never forget that any austerity performed as a matter of performing our daily duties because of our situation in this material external world. Any austerity should be done for the highest cause, ultimately, coming closer to Krishna and serving Krishna. So these are the 3 points that I addressed, and in conclusion, I'd like to say that while in the stage of sadhana bhakti, the practice stage of devotion service, we may lack some the mature understanding of many pastimes of the Lord, but we can certainly have the opportunity to imbibe the instructions of such perfect devotees as the gopis, learn something from their example. So let's pray for the intelligence to follow such instructions properly, intelligently. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Thank you for your attention, and sorry for shortcomings in my class. I hope you liked it a little bit, and maybe you learned something. If you have any questions, I'll be very happy to try to answer.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you for your class. You made a lot of wonderful points. I can't even mention all of them, but one of the things you were mentioning was controlling the tongue and performing austerities. And you were something also, I'm kind of listing points and I'll try to kind of merge them together. But you were also mentioning you were performing your exercise and you maintained it, your exercise program, even though it wasn't as intense as before. And we see that there's material exercise and spiritual exercise. We perform austerities for spiritual exercise. And that's one of the most difficult things in any facet of life, how to maintain your particular vow, whether it's material vow or spiritual vow. And one thing I share with devotees is that Brahma's the creator, Shiva's the destroyer, and Vishnu's the maintainer. Creating our peace of mind, easy. Destroying it, even easier. Maintaining it, that's the hard part. Creating our relationships, easy. Destroying them, even easier. Maintaining them, the hard part. Same with our vows also. And we see that Hiranyakashipu, he was very mind and sense control and controlled his speech when he didn't have any power. He went to Brahma for some powers. My dear Brahma, can you give me some powers? And then when he got the powers, he wasn't very mind and sense control. Same with so many demons in the scriptures. And I'll share one verse that you reminded me of regarding controlling the speech and maintaining our vows and our Christian consciousness. It's a very beautiful verse. This is from the 11th canto, chapter 16, verse 43. It talks about the Vacho Vagam principle you were mentioning, controlling speech. It says, Yovaivam manasi samyak asamyachan yatihi tasya bratam tapodanam shravati amagatam bhuvat. It mentions all the things you were mentioning, austerities, vows, charity. It says, it compares, it gives a good analogy. It says a clay pot is whole, or a clay pot is full of holes. A clay pot that's whole can receive water. A clay pot that's full of holes cannot receive water. In much the same way, if our character is whole, we can hold on to the rain of Krishna's mercy. If our character is full of holes, we cannot hold on to the rain of Krishna's mercy. And it describes what that mercy is. Brata tapodanam, our vows, our austerities. The exact verse says, a transcendentalist who does not fully control his speech and mind will soon find that his vows, his austerities, and his charity will flow away, just as water flows out of an unbaked pot. And so my question is that how can we avoid the tendency of demons like Hiranyakashipu? When I don't have power and I need somebody's help, I'm very mind and sense control. I control my speech. But when I think I have more power than others, Hiranyakashipu thought he had more power than Prahlad. Therefore, he didn't control his speech. He thought he could say whatever he want and do whatever. And we see this is in modern politicians. Before politicians get the political position, very mind and sense control. When they get the position, I could do whatever I want. I lie to all of you. Not could say anything, do anything. But what happens? All their austerities, all their money, it just flows out like on baked pot. So how can we not avoid this austerity? And how can we realize that we're actually, when we're not mind and sense control and control our turn in all circumstances, eventually we'll lose all our good fortune, spiritual or material fortune. So maybe you could expand on that, maybe if that was clear. How can we avoid that Hiranyakashipu mentality?
Sure. Are you asking this for the devotees or for people who are not? Right. Wow. Very good point, Prabhu. It's a very good point. Obviously, when you practice devotional service, when you attempt to practice sadhana bhakti, there may be some good things coming. That are material. Some situations may improve, and we may appreciate it for the fact that it's easier. We're living a more comfortable life, and first of all, we're not as stressed. But then there are trying times where your character is put to test, and it's not so much fun. You have to pass those tests, and I think I mentioned that last year about the dark night of the soul, which is a very testing time for the soul. So we're going through different stages of bhakti, but basically it's the sadhana bhakti that most devotees are at that level of sadhana bhakti, including myself, and we initially things are working out for us materially. Everything is easier, and we're chanting more, and we're excited. Um, so what I found useful when I noticed that my situation, my material situation was improving. It doesn't always work this way, but usually I take it like this: the less mature you are, then Krishna doesn't maybe want to scare me. And then so when I was doing more spiritual life, my material situation was improving. So I noticed that. But anytime I slacked off, and we're not going to the temple for some time, or I was not focused so much on bringing more favorable people to the temple. Anytime I like reduce my activities of spiritual life, the material amenities, the material benefits were somehow going away as well. So that was my experience right away from the start. That it doesn't have to be like this once again. But for me, it was helpful that Krishna would, if I was doing a little bit less spiritually, and I was slacking, before I got initiated, I was, even now I'm slacking, but before I was initiated, I was really, sometimes not going to the temple for a month because I was busy, or, it was hard to follow all the principles. So I was slacking, and then Krishna would reduce the material conference, give me some warnings, this happened, I had a car accident, I got a flat tire in the middle of the highway, I got this, I got a bad grade on the test. Krishna was adjusting. He saw that I put less effort into the spiritual life, and he also reduced my material benefits. So I would learn that lesson that yes, Krishna is in charge of the spiritual progress, and he's in charge of the material necessities that we do have, and he can take them away at any time, like a good father. If good father sees that, oh, the student is doing okay, he's doing great, let me give him some incentive, let me make it easier for him to progress. But if the student is rebellious or stubborn, doesn't want to change, then curtail some of the benefits, so the student has more, he's forced to be more disciplined. If you don't discipline yourself out of your own free will, Krishna, because he has your highest goal in mind, your highest benefit, he will discipline you. So that was my experience. Anytime you get power, material amenities, material goods, they should be used in Krishna's service. It should be shared, with your family, with friends, giving donation to the temple. And if you have a position to manage, you should manage in a nice way. Try to keep your character intact. Because anytime Krishna can take those positions away, that may be externally material. You're a manager of this company, or you have, a big house and 5 cars. You can use these goods in Krishna's service. Otherwise, Krishna may restrict. Okay, you're not really helping others with this, and it's only going to spoil you if you just keep enjoying yourself. So let me just restrict a little bit. Let me take this away and that away. So Krishna will, because he cares. The demigods may not be so concerned about that we progress directly on the spiritual path. The demigods may say, okay, I'll give you this, fine, and then they're not worrying so much about our spiritual well-being. But Krishna does. So Krishna will give you those warnings. And another point that that helps me is that, like you said about if you have holes in your character, if you get more power or material amenities, material resources, you will abuse them, misuse them. But if your character is, if you have integrity of character, you'll be able to use those resources in a nice way to serve the Lord and His devotees. So while we're doing our sadhana bhakti, practicing, and we are getting or not getting certain material amenities and resources, we should always keep in mind that is the character that people see in our daily behavior. People may not see how we chant and do our pujas. They may not see that. They may not see that we come to the temple. When we are outside and we have good character, then people will be attracted and will listen to what we have to say about spiritual life. They will be attracted to our instructions, whatever we give them instructions at level, at the health level, or how to lead your life, or spiritual instructions. So while we're doing all these things and getting more resources, we should always make sure our character is as spotless as possible. It's not possible to be pure and perfect. Obviously, it is possible, but it's a long, long way for many of the practicing devotees, and you should keep in mind, always working on the character from within and without while doing our sadhana bhakti practice. This way, we become more efficient, more effective preachers. Because if we chant and do puja, but then we don't behave nicely outside, first of all, your chanting and puja may not be so pure. But if you work on both, improving your attention when you do puja and rituals, and also your character, then everything will overlap and everything will work in a synergistic way, and you'll become more effective as a preacher, more effective, and then it'll encourage Krishna to give you more, so you can help more people in your service to mankind, service to the devotees. So watch your character outside when you're not with devotees, and always be aware that Krishna can take everything away within a second. He's a good father, so we may not like it, but he can do it easily. It's not a problem for him. We think we can hold on to something, but we can't really. Anything can happen in the most wonderful way, and everything is gone. Krishna is he's the best magician, and he can trick us. He can trick everyone. So I hope this is helpful. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.